Hello and welcome back to the Rangers News channel on YouTube. Apologies for the lack of content over the past couple of weeks or so. As I'm sure you're aware, things have been a bit hectic all round due to the coronavirus outbreak. Government regulations mean that it's impossible for us to record in our usual Glasgow studio, but we're keen to bring you some sort of regular content on the channel if possible for the next couple of months. We're starting today with a video looking at the top Gers scorers of the 21st century. It's been a manic couple of decades that has seen a number of ups and downs, to put it mildly, from winning leagues on dramatic last days, reaching the FA Cup final, falling to the lowest tier of Scottish football and then rising up again under Steven Gerrard. One constant through it all has been goals, and plenty of them, and we are celebrating them today as we pick out the top 10 goal scorers since the year 2000. We're only including goals actually scored this century, so the likes of Michael Moles and Rod Wallace miss out a bit. Sorry guys. Let's get started. We're starting with number 10, and we've got a tie between two players who never actually played together but still contributed a fair number of glorious moments in their time at the club: Martin Waghorn and Kyle Lafferty. Both players netted 44 goals in their time at Ibrox, although a number of Waghorns did come in the second tier. But the Englishman's record was a bit better than Lafferty's. Waghorn scored his 44 goals in 63 starts, while Lafferty netted his in 94. Both players' time at the club ended a little disappointingly as the goals dried up. Both are now in England, with Waghorn at Derby, while Lafferty is preparing for an acting role in the next series of Netflix hit Sunderland Till I Die. The big Northern Irishman enjoyed a second spell at Ibrox, which is probably best forgotten. James Tavernier's goal-scoring exploits from defence are really put into perspective by the fact that he is number 9 on this list. The English right-back has scored a total of 46 goals for the club in just under 250 appearances. A record of a goal every 5 games isn't bad at all for a defender, although there is a slight caveat that he has scored a fair number of them from the penalty spot. But Tav has also chipped in with some wonderful goals from open play, as well as a number of terrific free kicks. He's often criticised for not being a great captain after tough defeats, but he's been a terrific acquisition from Wigan Athletic, even with his goals put to one side. Current Rangers youth coach Peter Lovenkrands is next on our list at number 8. The Danish forward, signed from his homeland in the year 2000, enjoyed a very successful 6 years at Ibrox and netted a total of 54 goals. Lovenkrands is best known for the last gasp Scottish Cup final winner against Celtic in 2002, although he also scored a memorable goal against Inter Milan to assure Rangers of a last 16 place in the Champions League back in 2005. He had a habit of turning up in big games and continued that throughout his career as he played for the likes of Schalke 04 and Newcastle United, before eventually retiring and returning to Ibrox in his current capacity as a youth coach. One of Lovenkrands' old teammates, Shota Arveladze, is next up on our list. The Georgian is just ahead of the Dane with 57 goals to his name. Signed from Ajax for around £3 million in 2001, the forward would go on to enjoy a fruitful time at Ibrox. He scored 17 goals in his first season and became a real Gers favourite despite having so much competition for a starting place. He is Georgia's all-time top scorer and also the 5th highest UEFA Cup goal scorer of all time. But most importantly, he's 7th on our list. Next up in 6th is none other than Barry Ferguson, the Rangers legend who, like Kyle Lafferty, enjoyed 2 spells at the club, played over 400 games and netted a pretty impressive 61 goals. 2 of those were in the 90s, so his 21st century tally is sitting at 59. That's still not bad at all for a mid-player who prided himself more in creating goals and putting in crunching midfield tackles. His memorable moments included a stunning free kick in the aforementioned cup final against Celtic, as well as captaining Rangers to the last treble in 2002-2003 as the club recorded a record 50th domestic league title. The fact he is in amongst our top scorers for the 21st century just shows how much of an impact Barry Ferguson had in our club at that time. Next up on our list is none other than utility man Lee McCulloch. The striker turned midfielder turned defender had a pretty good career down south with Wigan Athletic when he moved to Scotland in 2007. McCulloch would go on to spend 8 years in Glasgow, enjoying the highs and lows at Ibrox, from the amazing UEFA Cup final run to playing in the lower divisions. He played in a number of positions during his Ibrox stint and registered a very impressive 70 goals as he became captain of the club in 2012. You wonder how many more goals McCulloch could have notched in a Gers shirt if he had only played more games up front. Sitting just one ahead of McCulloch on 71 goals is another big Rangers man in Nacho Novo. The little Spaniard famously described himself as the only blue nose in his Spanish town as a kid, and left an even bigger one after 6 years at Ibrox. Famously saying no thanks to old firm rivals Celtic, Novo set the tone in his first season with 25 goals, including the winner on Helicopter Sunday. Novo loves scoring against Celtic, 6 strikes to be exact, but his greatest moment in a Rangers shirt came from the penalty spot. In the UEFA Cup semi-final away to Fiorentina, it was the wee man who slotted away the winning spot kick to send Rangers to Manchester, cueing incredible celebrations from the travelling Gers support. Into our top 3 now, and sitting on the bronze medal podium is current Gers star Alfredo Morelos. Not too many Rangers supporters will have known about the Colombian when he arrived from HJK Helsinki in the summer of 2017, but Morelos has gone on to be a huge player at Ibrox, netting 77 goals so far in less than 3 seasons. He enjoyed a decent first campaign in Glasgow, but has undoubtedly gone on to become an even better player under Steven Gerrard. Morelos has scored numerous goals domestically, but he's saved his best stuff for the European stage with huge strikes in the Europa League against the likes of Feyenoord, Porto and Legia Warsaw. You'd be hard pressed to find many better Gers strikers in the last 20 years, even if the Colombian isn't top of the scoring charts. Morelos may have netted 77 Rangers goals, but he's still well behind Kenny Miller, who's in second place with a whopping 116. The forward enjoyed 3 spells at Ibrox in a career that only came to an end at the start of 2020 following a brief spell at Partick Thistle. His legendary status has undoubtedly been tarnished by a spell at Celtic, but few will doubt the striker's commitment when wearing the royal blue of Rangers. Always turning up on Derby Day, Miller netted 9 goals against Celtic and won 6 trophies at Ibrox. The striker might have left the club in acrimonious circumstances after a bust-up involving Lee Wallace and Graham Murty, but no one can take his 116 Rangers strikes away from him. Before we move on to our top Rangers scorer of the 21st century, we're going to give a shout out for a few honourable mentions at Ibrox over the years. These are players who didn't quite make our top 10 but still had great scoring returns at Ibrox. Croatian pair Dado Pircio and Nikica Jelavic were both big hits at the club and scored 37 and 36 goals respectively. They are just behind Andy Little, who particularly in the lower divisions was a great goal scoring influence at Rangers and scored 38 goals. Tony Andre Flo and Ronald de Boer also narrowly missed out in the high 30s, while Michael Moles would have qualified had 13 of his 48 goals not come in the 20th century. Hard luck, guys. But topping the Rangers charts is another born goal scorer, none other than the one and only Chris Boyd. Like Miller, Boyd had more than one spell at Ibrox, but the vast majority of his 138 Rangers goals came in his first spell between 2006 and 2010. Boyd was a complete goal machine from the minute he arrived in Govan and rarely stopped scoring until he left for Middlesbrough only 4 years later. He scored the majority of his goals in the league, finishing top Rangers scorer virtually every season that he was at the club, but his biggest moments arguably came at Hampden, with doubles against the likes of Dundee United and Queen of the South securing more trophy success for Rangers. His second spell was less profitable, but he still tops this chart very comfortably, and given the competition he had, that certainly says something about Chris Boyd. Right, so that's our top 10 Rangers scorers of the 21st century all done and dusted. Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and continuing to support the channel during this tricky period. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and stay on the lookout for more content from Rangers News. Until then, stay safe and take care.